I went ahead and made a tree base.
What?
Hey guys, we're back. It's another month. It's your favorite Procrastamakers, Hunter, Jeff, Mikey, and Will. And this month we're getting back to basics. Doesn't matter the technique, doesn't matter the project, doesn't matter the medium. But I want you to focus on one single technique.
Technique!
So that could be doing one particular cut on a saw over and over again to make whatever project you want. That could be using one particular weld. All right, I'll see you at the end of the month, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Knowing this group, our basic projects are probably not going to be so basic. But let's see what we come up with. Bye for now. Hey, so this month we're making a bandsaw box. So to get started, we made a nice form for the outside of our box. Then, go ahead and mark the inside whatever shape you would like the drawer to be. For me, I went with trapezoids for both the inside and outside. For the inside, I wanted a slightly more organic form. So for the first cut, you want to cut out the entire drawer. Unfortunately, this bandsaw had a little bit wide of a radius than I originally wanted. But no harm, just cut off the entire bottom. We can fix that later. And then for the rest of the box, it was smooth sailing. Time to glue together some mistakes, and no one's the wiser. Then a little bit of belt sander action to make everything nice, round, and smoothed out. Just cutting away the front and the back of the soon-to-be drawer. Forgetting what matches up. Classic. Now we'll hog away the inside of the drawer. Make whatever shape you want. I just wanted to ensure that I had a ridge to hold some extra trinkets at the end. Much more confident with the radius cuts this time. Just gluing the front and the back of the drawer all together. Time to clamp and sand. Now, the back of the entire box back on the box. Now using a fret file, we're going to cut a knob. Again, went with a nice trapezoid shape. Now, time to sand. Looking good. We'll add a little bit of elevation. Again, clamping. Then finding the best position. Perfection.
So, for my technique, I really want to try turning a bowl on the lathe. Unfortunately, I don't own a lathe, but I know someone who does.
Hello, sir.
Hello. All right. We're in Hunter's shop. Thank you. Oh, no. Shop safety.
Remove that.
There's the lathe. Isn't she a beauty?
The lathe is made up of a headstock, which is where the drive spur goes, a tool rest, which is where you, rest your tool, and a tailstock, which helps to support the end of your workpiece. The tailstock can slide back and forth on the lathe bed to fit the size of your piece. First things first, I need to find the center of my square blank and hammer in an impression of the drive spur. I'm going to insert my piece, lock the tailstock in place, and we are ready to start turning.
It takes a very long time to carve away this amount of material. And the other thing is you get a lot of tear out where chips just start flying. So what I'm actually going to do is take this off the lathe, cut it down to more of a circular shape on the bandsaw, and then we'll get back to lathing.
I'm using a spindle gouge to form the basic shape and add a taper to the bottom. I'm going to switch to a square scraper to smooth the bottom of my bowl. And a detailer will help form the undercut of the bottom ring. The reason for the undercut is because we need a way to hold the bowl while removing material from the inside. For this, we use a chuck, which has the same tapered shape as the one we just created. A bowl gouge works great for removing material from the inside of the bowl. And a round nose scraper helps to smooth everything out. Oh, don't forget to wear a mask and face shield. You'll be creating a lot of chips. We'll flip the piece around one more time to carve an indent inside the bottom ring using a small round nose scraper. Then it's just a matter of sanding and finishing with some oil. And we are done.
It's Mikey here, and this month we're doing back to basics. For my technique, I'm going to use welding. I have an awesome maple round that I've been meaning to make into a coffee table, and I wanted to do a custom welded base for it. So we're going to be building the base. We're going to get 3 different sizes of steel, a solid steel rod, a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and 3/16. And we're going to use those to make up the tree. So the bigger 1/2 inch rod will make up the major tree base and the bigger branches. And then we'll use the other 2 sizes for different root sizes and different branch sizes. And we're going to bend them all to fun shapes so it's going to look like a tree. And then I also bought some leaves off of Etsy that are going to be actually maple leaves that we'll weld on for extra decoration. And it's going to look a little bit something like this. So we'll attach it all to a plate. We'll weld it into the bottom plate, and then we're actually going to try to draw roots with the welder. This is really my first real time using the welder solo, so we're going to see how it works. So first things first, we're going to bend all of the larger rods into a basic tree shape, getting some roots and some branches, comparing for size, checking with the foreman to make sure our work is quality and he approves. So first we're going to weld the first 2 pieces together, and these first few pieces are really hard to get together because they were difficult to clamp and it couldn't stand up on its own. So you can see the welds at the beginning aren't really that great. This is also me tuning in the welder. It's only my 2nd or 3rd time really welding, so this is my first major project, so it's a lot of fun. You can see the welds get a lot better as I go on. And then once you grind everything up, it looks, it's one solid piece of steel. And having a solid piece of steel from multiple pieces of steel is really cool. So now we're moving on to some of our smaller rods that we're going to give more organic shapes to. As you can see, we're not starting at the bottom anymore. We're starting kind of midway, bending them, making them cool branch shapes, and twisted and bended. At the end of this, we're going to have to do a little bit of grinding or a little bit of more shaping once we put the plates on to make sure that the table base is flat and level. So I wanted to show you a little bit of the grinding process. We're really not doing too much shaping here. We're just cleaning up the welds, making sure it looks natural. We're using an abrasive flap disc here to grind that, which is, in my opinion, rarely quick and very aggressive, but compared to some of the other options, it's actually one of the more gentle weld cleanup processes for this. After we do that, we're going to move to all these smaller detail branches, put little twigs and small branches out. And these we're actually not going to clean up for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to be hard to reach all this with the angle grinder, and 2, all of these nubs, how they kind of join together, look more natural to how the tree actually grows, because they'll be thicker and you'll have these knots in a lot of cases. So I bought some rusted maple leaves off of Etsy, and we're going to weld those to some of the smaller branches, and then we'll call it a day.
Hey guys, so my idea is I'm going to do a bridle joint out of 3 different species of wood. Pretty simple, not super complicated or anything like that. But I'm just going to draw it out now so that I have it. I'm going to bring this whole big old sheet into the garage so that way I can keep looking at it, because I usually do things out of my brain. That's why I mess up a lot of things. So I'm actually going to start trying to write stuff down. So, a little bit change of plans. Totally just changing that. It's still going to be bridle joint. Instead, it's going to be 4 species of woods, and it's going to be a square. So, let's see how that goes. I realized my blade is a flat top blade, so it should be cutting the top flat instead of just doing like the little bat ears like this. But for some reason, it is giving me the bat ears. So I'm now switching to my dado stack. Okay, so I started using the 10-inch jig here to get the cuts in right here. I don't know. I messed up at some point, either during the measuring or just putting it in here. Everything's a little off, so the fit up isn't going to be great. Unfortunately, I'm a little sad about that. So right here in this connection, it actually pulled apart because of the way the grain is going. It's actually curling away like that. So this corner pulled up, and I wanted to see if I could maybe re-glue and clamp it down, fix that. Threw some glue in here, and now I'm clamping on the bar clamp to see if I can maybe fix this. All right, so we did a little fix up over here with that gap. I did a few cuts on the table saw just to clean up the edges because there was a little bit left hanging out. It's looking a lot better than I originally thought. Even some of them actually look pretty good on the joints. I obviously had a problem with depth when I was doing the cuts right here. So I'm gonna have to fill those gaps in with glue and sawdust. All right, so we're gonna do some sanding now. I'm actually gonna be using this sander so I can actually capture some of the dust in here. And then once it's sanded up to the proper grits, I will mix up some glue and the dust, fill into these gaps as best as possible, and hopefully that makes it look a little bit more solid. So.
Hey guys, we're back. It's the end of the month. This month's project was back to basics, so the goal was to focus on like a single tool or single technique and see what we can come up with. So let's get started and go into the reveal. I decided to use the bandsaw, and I wanted to do a little bit more practice with curves, curve cuts, things like that. So this is what I came up with.
Ooh.
So I went ahead and I made a blank. I cut that into a trapezoid. Unfortunately, on day 1, I started making the actual inner cuts, but the bandsaw blade was pretty old, so I got like this far in and then it snapped. It ended up fine, but not exactly what I was planning. But my goal was for this to house my guitar slide. There's a recess for it over here. I did not measure this at all. I completely eyeballed it, and look at that tolerance.
Whoa.
That's nice.
Oh, nice. Beautiful.
Look at that.
I'll definitely go back and make more. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Like, this cartoony type style is definitely more what I'm into than like perfect square edges and like perfect. Obviously this is not perfect, but
For my tool, I really wanted to get better at the lathe. Unfortunately, I don't have a lathe, but Hunter does. So I took a trip out to Long Island and spent a couple days there and built this bowl out of walnut.
hell yeah.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh, it's even got a little bottom.
Yeah, it's got the little bottom.
Wow.
It is so much fun to turn. I really want a lathe now. Even throughout, from start to finish, like as I was making this, I got so much better, and
it became so much easier throughout the process. And of course, with Hunter's help, he had some advice for me.
I think if Jeff listened to some of my tool advice every time I gave it to him at the beginning, he would have gone a little faster.
I had to learn the hard way. I will say Hunter did end up being right about everything. And if I had listened, I would have saved a lot of time, but now I know for sure.
I will say Jeff did a fantastic job with turning that.
I have no doubt that Jeff is going to be great at turning.
So what I did for my project for Back to Basics was I wanted to get better at welding. I have a project for a coffee table that's going to use a maple round, and I decided I wanted to make a base. And I'm really into natural and organic shapes, so I went ahead and made a tree base.
Holy crap.
What?
It is a tree
Oh my
with
god.
cool leaves. I'm going to spin it this way. Maybe you can see a little bit better. But what I really want to show you, what I'm very proud of, is the roots.
The roots.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Well, fuck.
Oh my god.
That's very nice.
That's amazing.
So I used the MIG welding process. So how I made it was I got some 3 different size rod steel. So I bent them in a nice curved shape so it'd have a cool root bound out and a cool top. The roots were a lot of fun to make because you just get to basically put the welder down and kind of just draw a line. And it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
That's super intense.
Yeah.
So, for my project, I decided to use the table saw. I did have a very stiff project in mind, and that was the bridle joint. And I knew I could do all that pretty much entirely on the table saw. So, without further ado,
Ooh.
I did this as like a trivet that you put like hot plates on and stuff or on like a table. So just did it out of 4 woods and with the traditional bridle joints in there for everything.
That's awesome. Is
Nailed
that
it.
really red one, sarsaparilla?
So this is peely, walnut, ambrosia maple, cherry. Yeah, I had a lot of problems when I was actually cutting like the mortise and tenon kind of parts for it. So what I ended up doing is I made a slurry out of glue and sawdust. And I
Yep.
was just jamming it in there with a pencil.
Nicely done.
Very cool.
Thank you.
I'm really thrilled by everyone's progress and what everyone put together this month. All right, we'll see you next month with more tools, more ideas, and more procrastinating. Bye.